This is the Your Money Hour podcast. I am your host, Dakota Grady. So, third segment on my friend Shawn Thompson of Logo My Logo. But before we get started, if you are struggling financially because you've been hurt by the pandemic and you need help with your personal finances, I am here to help you. I am Dakota Grady, the money coach. Find out more information about me on my website at dakotagrady.com. I'm also the accounting and tax doctor as well, helping businesses. Primarily, I want to focus on nurse practitioners, but I also help other business owners as well with accounting and taxes so they can save time. Check out my website at theatdoc.com. That's theatdoc.com. So to the guest, tonight's guest again is Shawn Thompson of Logo My Logo in Nashville, Tennessee. He's been on my show. This is the third segment, so 4 times now. So that means I like Shawn a lot. So without further ado, Shawn, welcome to the show again.
Yeah, thank you again, Dakota. Thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we've been talking about the principles of leadership, and leadership is important. Last segment, you talked about everybody being a leader, and I agree with you. I just didn't think about it that way, but you're right. I mean, I've heard it before, but everyone is a leader because it takes things. Well, it takes responsibility to get up out of the chair, like you mentioned, and to move forward towards your dreams and goals, or just to move forward, moving out the door, as you mentioned earlier. So tonight we're going to talk about mentality, vision, and hands. We've talked about accountability, association, humbleness, integrity, responsibility, and discipline. But tonight we're focusing on mentality, vision, and hands. So mentality. I know and I've heard that you're basically your thoughts lead you to where you want to go. Basically, is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely.
So mentality, how is important is mentality in being a leader for anyone?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, Dakota, is probably more prevalent now that we talk about this as it relates to what's going on in the pandemic, what's going on in the country. There are a lot of people who are suffering. And because you have challenged with seeing how things could potentially get better, your mental capacity and your mental strength is tested. And I think as a good leader, there's certain things you need to know. And you need to know that it does not matter how bad today is, tomorrow it can always get better. You just need to know that as a man thinketh, so is he. Your mind is the most powerful gift that you have. Your mind is how you create. It's in your mind that you solve problems. It's in your mind that you are creative. It's there's so many things that happen in your mind initially. Nothing happens in your body if it does not happen in your mind first. Nothing happens in your business if it does not happen with that head first. Nothing happens in any organization, the body of the organization, if it does not happen in the mind first. And so for those of us who are leaders or who are aspiring to be better leaders, you got to do some mind work. You have to do some mental work. If you get this thing right, you are well off into being a very successful person, successful in life, and a successful leader. So the mentality of a leader, some suggest that knowledge is power. But Dakota, I believe that only applied knowledge is power, because you know things, but if you know it and you don't do anything about it, what's the benefit in knowing it, right? So when I was a little kid, I used to do things and I knew better than to do them. So when I was in college, let me give an example. I was in college, and one time in college, I think I told you this earlier, Dakota, I went to a party at 12 o'clock in the daytime. I was kicking it, had a good time. I knew better. And I had the knowledge, but I did not apply the knowledge. And so it wasn't until I started applying knowledge that I started doing better in school and started making better decisions. It's the same thing with you in your life as a business owner and as a leader. There's no benefit in having knowledge if you're not going to apply the knowledge to what it is that you're attempting to do. Um, yeah, I told you earlier that it's with your mind that you are creative, and the creativity in your mind is so valuable. Let me tell you, I think the challenge with people being creative is that there's so many things floating around in your mind that your mind does not do what it's intended to do. Your mind, in essence, was intended to solve problems, but it can't be creative because you've given it all this other stuff to store in there. So let me tell you, what I want to encourage us all to do is to go from creativity to innovation. As a business owner, you want to go from creativity to innovation. Let me tell you how you do that. Um, there's a story about a gentleman who, several years ago, he went to this hotel chain, and he talked to the hotel chain about putting coffee made coffee pots in all of the hotel rooms. So he said, I want to do this. I want to put the coffee pots in the hotel room, and I want to give you the pots, and I'm also going to give you the refills. But in exchange, what I want to do is, instead of you paying me for the coffee pots, I just want to get 50 cents for every room night that's booked. And the hotel chain said, okay, cool, that's great. Their first PO the gentleman got was for 80,000 hotel rooms. So if you think about this, 50 cents every time the hotel room was booked, he's making about $40,000 a day
Mm.
because he took something that was creative, an idea, and he moved it into innovation. So I think for us who have an entrepreneurial mindset, don't just be creative, because what will happen is your team will be like, oh, you know what, we should do this. You know what I saw yesterday, we should try this. And so they'll come up with all these suggestions, ideas. How can you move them from simply being creative to do something that's innovative that moves you forward in your marketplace or in a different marketplace that it makes you successful? At the end of the day, you want to know, what have I done to make the cash register ring? And all that happens in your mind before if you think about the building you're in, the building I'm in, Dakota, before it was ever truly a building, it was a thought in somebody's mind. And somebody said, hey, there needs to be a space in this building just in case two individuals want to do a podcast. That cover is snowing outside, it's cold. I need to make sure this place is conducive for what they're attempting to do. It was a thought in somebody's mind before it ever became a physical building that you and I sit in. So the mentality of a leader really does move you. It moves you from creativity to innovation.
That leads into the next segment of vision. It starts in the mind, right? You have a vision of something. You visualize, like you mentioned, the buildings we're in. That came from the thoughts, right?
Correct.
Without those thoughts, the vision of seeing where you want to be and then backing up or re-engineering that to become reality, there's no there's no building, right? So talk about how that being a visionary, how is that important?
Yeah. Um, I think that there are not three words assembled in the English language more powerful than the fact that your thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. And if you are going to be a visionary leader, you have to understand that the power in your thoughts, they will ultimately become things if you manage them properly. So again, the building that we're in, they were thoughts before somebody ever made it a thing. Is where it started. If you're hungry, the hunger is really going to happen in your mind first, right? Before you ever say, "Hey, I'm gonna go and get me something to eat." Where am I going? Well, let me. What do you say? Let me think about it, right? and think about this. If you think about your thoughts becoming things. Have you ever been hungry and you've been sitting on the couch and you're watching TV and you've decided in your mind, I want to go to this place. And as soon as you decided, there's a commercial about that exact same place that you just thought about, and you're like, how is that possible? The reason that it is possible because I'm telling you that this principle is the truest, realest principle that I have shared with you tonight. Your thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. Have you ever had somebody that you were a person or a friend and you started to think about your friend, and then a few minutes later your phone rings, and you be like, you know what? You're not gonna believe this. I was just thinking about you.
Right.
Right. So the reason that they called you is because your thoughts become things. I have seen this happen so many times before. My business was a thought. The business launched in 2011. I've shared this story on your show before, I think. The business launched in 2011, but I came up with the name of it in 2004. So four, I had the name. I didn't launch the business in 11. So I said on it, these were just thoughts in my mind. But I started to develop this business plan. And also on the business plan, they asked me all these questions: name of business, location, all these things. And so one day I go to deliver some products to a customer, and my customer's in this really cool building. And I said, you know what? I'm working on this business plan, and I need a office for my to put on this plan. So I was like, okay, let me just write this address down. So I wrote this address down on my business plan. I didn't know how much office space cost. I didn't even know if they had a space available. I just knew I was working on the business plan. It asked me for an address. I needed an address. So I'm working on all these pieces. I got the name of it. I got the address for the business. I started working on the marketing pieces of the business. And then the last piece of it was the finance piece. So I'm working on this finance piece of the business. I write this down. I said, I think I need about 20. I looked at my bills, looked at my goals, all this stuff. I said, I need about $25,000 to start the business. And so I go to have lunch with a friend of mine, and we're talking about the business. I said, hey, he asked me once. He said, hey man, what do you think? What's next for you, Shawn? And I said, I really think I'm ready. I want to start a business. He said, well, okay, the first thing you need is a business plan. I said, I got the plan. I've been working on the plan. You got the name of the business? Yes. You got the address? Yes. You got the marketing? Yes. You got the finance? I said, the finance piece is the last thing that I'm working on. It's going to cost me about $25,000 to start the business. And so, but I wrote it down in this plan. And so he said, okay, that's easy. I said, what you mean that's easy? He said, that's easy. Man, I'll help you. I'll give you the 25,000 to help you start your business. And that's how I started my business. And again, I need to reiterate the fact that thoughts become things. In my business plan was a name of a business called Logo My Logo. And 10 years later, that's the name of my business. I wrote an address down because I went to go visit a customer. And when I moved to my very first office space, I called that company and I asked them if they had a space. And they said, yeah, we got a little space back here. I don't know if you want it, but if you want it, I'll give it to you $220 a month. I said, I'll take it. And so I moved into a business address that I wrote down on this. It was a thought. I wrote it down on paper, and then I got the $25,000 because I am telling you, I am convinced that your thoughts in essence become things. And so you got to get the thoughts out of your head because you're a visionary leader. You got to get them out of your head and on paper. And once they become on paper, they become a part of your plan. Write vision, make it plain so that others see it. They can take portions of your vision and they can help you. So that yes, that's the idea of a visionary leader.
And the last point, hands. How important are the hands in a leader's life?
Yeah. So you would think all the other things we talked about, this is the only piece of it that's really tangible. The hands of a leader are so valuable because the hands of a leader are engaging. The hands of a leader networks. The hands of a leader encourages others. It's with this hand that I pat my team on the back. It's with this hand that I extend to reach out to make a new contact or a new friend or a new customer. It's your hands are so valuable. It's like, what are you doing with your hands? We talked about it earlier, when as a team, when you accomplish something, the leader takes the brunt if there's an issue, but he congratulates his entire team whenever there's success. There's success. It's with your hands that you'll say, we accomplished this. Look what we did. This is how I encourage our team. All that happens with your hands. Um, the last piece I think will be done is don't ever put your hands to do something that you don't have every intent on finishing.
Mm.
Never allow your hands to start something that you don't have every intent on finishing. People start things all the time, but they never finish. It's with your hands that you start. So if you're going to start a business, if you're going to start an organization, if you're going to start a podcast, if you're going to start whatever it is you're attempting to start, never start it if you don't have every intent on finishing it. Don't put your hand, scripture says it like this, don't put your hand to the plow. Don't start working if you don't expect and intend to finish working. You have begun a good work, and I just want to encourage you guys to continue to do that. Leadership are so many facets, but don't start down the path of leadership if you don't have every intent on finishing. What does the finish mark look like to you? Is it a business? Is it a family? Is it a what is it? What goal? What would classify you as successful? And when you get ready to start, you should be full steam, all systems go, everything is just moving forward. But again, those are the principles of leadership. And again, our last one are your hands. What are you doing with your hands?
Awesome, Shawn. Dude, this has been beneficial. And the thing that really stands out to me, I mean, is the mentality though, because our thoughts become things. I mean, I wrote a book and it was a thought. The podcast, a thought. I
Right.
mean, the thing was the chair is a thought. This microphone, a thought. So if we can channel that energy, have the vision, and use our hands to put the work in, execute, and say, well, I'm going to do it and go all in and say, instead of saying, I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it halfway, or, oh, something came up, or, oh, well, it's on the back burner, or not make excuses to get the work done, our lives would be a lot better. We'll be better leaders, leading our families, our communities, our businesses, and in the world. So I'm honored to have you on my show again. And before we close out, how can people first, one last thing, what can you leave the audience with? Secondly, how can people find out about you and your business?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again, Dakota, because what you do in this space is so valuable, and the content that you are leaving on record is valuable. I mean, there will be individuals who can go back and watch this years from now when you and I are gone. And I hope that they feel the sense of we want you to be successful. We bumped our head enough. We've learned a little bit, and we want to share that little bit with you so you can go where you're attempting to go quicker and faster because you have knowledge. So again, it's so amazing. We become immortal simply by recording these things and sharing. And the greatest gift that I think I'm speaking for Dakota as well, that your listeners can give you and I is to take these principles, apply to their life, and they see it work in their lives. So again, I hope you got something out of the leadership principles. I hope that you take all 9 of them and find a way to apply all 9 to some area of your life in one way or another. Again, I am Shawn Thompson. I'm the president and CEO of Logo My Logo, and you can connect with us via our website at the number 2, logomylogo.com, or you can connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Those 2 places, the handles are Logo My Logo, or you can connect with me personally at LinkedIn. And again, it's just Shawn Thompson on LinkedIn. But again, thank you, Dakota, for what you do in this space. It's very valuable.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. And if y'all want to find out more about Shawn, check out his website and connect with him on social media. Thank you again. And this is the Your Money Hour podcast.